For centuries now, people have associated certain colors with certain things. One of the most common example is the combination of red and yellow, which makes you hungry. This is why you can see so many fast food companies using them in their logos and in the interior design of their restaurants. And this is just one of many examples of such color association. And what does that mean for Resident Evil? For a beloved horror franchise? Well, it might mean nothing, but it also might mean something. I'm bad with intros. So today I came here to say that I'm a fucking homosexual, and I also came here to talk about the importance of color in Resident Evil 2. Because I made a video about Resident Evil 1, and I did say that I was maybe gonna make one about Resident Evil 2. And it was quite fun to make, so I decided why the hell not. I actually enjoyed looking into it, even though it maybe didn't really make a lot of sense. This one probably isn't gonna either. But before I get to it, I just wanted to say to hit the like button, because you are actually supposed to do that before the video even begins. What the fuck were you doing until now? It was supposed to be hit already. And now that is done, I'm just gonna jump right into it. So for this one, I'm gonna focus on the original game, not on the remake. Not that it matters really all that much, because it's all basically the same. But it is going to be relevant right about now, because I'm going to begin with Claire. And I'm starting with Claire because not many people actually know this, but the canonical way to play the original Resident Evil 2 is to play Claire first and then play Leon. Even though Leon is going to actually be played throughout the entire franchise by Ada, haha, am I right? But yeah, the original game is supposed to be played Claire A and Leon B. And that is because if you play Claire A, Sherry is going to get infected by the G virus, which is referenced later in Resident Evil 6. So right from the get-go, we can see that Claire's primary color is lighter red. And you might be asking, lighter red, well, lighter than what? I don't know, it's just pretty light, and I was thinking of Barry because Barry was also wearing red. But compared in Resident Evil 2, her shade of red is slighter than Ada's. So Claire's primary color is light red, and as was said with Barry, red sort of symbolizes courage, but I think this would be a bit disingenuous to just say that it symbolizes courage with every character that wears red, because in a way every character in Resident Evil is kind of brave. I mean, considering the situations that they find themselves in. So I had to dig deeper. For Claire and the color red, the most obvious connection that comes to mind is love, as she sort of assumes this older sister type of relationship with Sherry immediately after meeting her. And I'm not gonna say it's a mother-like relationship, even though many people saw that in what they had going on. First of all, because it's fucking weird, like Claire is like 19 here and Sherry's like 10 or 12, I'm not really sure. One of those things. Either way, it's kind of strange. Throughout the franchise, Claire really does have like this relationship with the girls. Okay, now this sounds weird, but in Resident Evil Degeneration, she sort of assumes the exact same role over a niece of her friend. And it's like exactly the same as with Sherry, it's almost ridiculous. And a similar thing would happen in Resident Evil Revelations 2, which is the most underrated Resident Evil game, with Moira Barton. This theme of love and being a caretaker is traditionally associated with women, and mothers especially. Red and pinkish colors are also traditionally colors that are rather feminine. So with all this subtle storytelling Capcom is giving us, we can make the conclusion that Claire is a woman. And I'm obviously joking and do not want to reduce her like that, but like this is basically what Capcom is doing with that character, like make something else for her, please, because I kind of like Claire, she's pretty cool, and she should do more things than just taking care of children and teenagers, or however old Moira is. She's probably like, I don't know, 16, 18, I don't know. Oh, of course, how could I forget, she was also in Infinite Darkness and Death Island, where she does basically nothing. I do not remember her plotline in Infinite Darkness at all. That TV show was so ass that I probably just erased it from my memory. And in Death Island, she's just sort of there to be there, so all the Raccoon City and Arklay Mountain survivors can be there. But hey, at least her color scheme is consistent, right? My neighbors are fucking arguing again. Do they not agree with my assessment of Claire? Like, I swear they do that all the time. This is gonna end up with murder one day. I think the closing argument for Claire could be that her shade of red makes her sort of stand out whenever she enters any darker room, as she's wearing this lighter color, and with the general color scheme of the backgrounds in Resident Evil 2 being very darkish, greenish, or white in the lab, Claire sort of stands out almost like a beacon of hope, which she is for Sherry. But I don't really see that being the intention for the choice of Claire's color, as this is only true for the original game and not really in the remake, as she does not really stand out all that much in the remake, especially in the rain, which makes her jacket a bit darker. And I guess she only really stands out in the original due to the limitations of the time, as the game came out in 1998. And speaking of 1998,
1998. I'll never forget it.
next one on the list is Leon. Leon, similarly to Jill from the first game, is also rocking that blue color, and I think it is a bit more obvious with Leon. As I mentioned with Jill, blue is the color that represents justice. I think it is pretty obvious with the context from the remake and also from other installments that feature Leon, as well as the backstory that he's given in the books. Even though whether or not the books are actually canon is questionable, Leon is someone who cares about justice. Probably more than any other character featured in the game. Blue is of course the color of the uniform he's wearing, so you could argue that it's just the color of the uniform, but Leon is wearing a very specific type of uniform. Lore-wise, it is apparently the winter uniform that the RPD uses in winter. In reality, it is a specific choice of clothing for Leon, as no other zombie is wearing the same thing as him. More obvious symbolism for this could be that blue is traditionally a masculine color, and Leon is the only playable character in the main game who is male. Not only that, he's really the only male character in the game who is not a monster in one way or another. I mean, I guess there is Marvin, but he dies in like the first 5 seconds. So yeah, that's Leon, that's pretty easy. Also, Leon having the same color as Jill is pretty iconic, as Leon and Jill are pretty much considered the fan favorites of the franchise. I swear any list I saw would have these two at the top. Unfortunately, Leon is not really consistent with his color. He's wearing something completely different in Resident Evil 4. He does sort of return to blue in Resident Evil 6 and in Death Island, as well as in Infinite Darkness, so I think there might be something to it. Next up is Ada. Ada's color is red, and that's the third person in the franchise. I guess Capcom just really likes the color red. There are actually quite a few things to be said about Ada's red. Right away, it should be noted that Ada is your classical example of a femme fatale, or a femme fatale. I'm not sure how to exactly say it because I never actually said it out loud. I only either said it in my head or just read it, but you get the point. I think I do not really have to specify what a femme fatale is, but it usually refers to a female character that's very charismatic and attractive, who is also mysterious and has no problem charming men to get what she wants, while being very strong and independent, basically a girl boss. One of the things that dark red can be symbolism of is passion and desire. And when it comes to Ada, it should be pretty self-explanatory where this is going. She's very desirable for Leon. And not only that, red is also the color of danger. And Ada's presence in Leon's life is obviously very dangerous. You could even say that she's a walking red flag. And that's not because she's a girl boss, that's quite literally because she's a mercenary working for terrorists. It should be also noted that she's wearing a very striking combination of red and black obviously being the color of mystery. And I just gotta say, Ada's overall design in the original Resident Evil 2 is so goddamn iconic. Like, this right here was not just a character design, this was a fucking statement. No wonder the color combination of red and black has become a staple for Ada throughout the series, with red being the dominant color, even going as far as to give her clone in Resident Evil 6 dominant blue color with just a red scarf, which get your Superman ass out of here. Ada would never wear this. It was a great foreshadowing to the reveal that this is actually a clone and not the real Ada, just to show that something is wrong and not in fact Wong. I'll see myself out. Anyway, next up we have Sherry. Sherry's color scheme is the combination of white and blue. White being pretty clearly the color of innocence and purity, as Sherry is the only child in the game, and she finds herself surrounded by all this evil that resides within the city. It should also be noted that her white shirt, after witnessing all the horrors of the city, is covered up by Claire's red jacket, and red being the color that can represent bravery. Claire is quite literally giving her courage to keep moving forward, and also because her white shirt that gets covered up, it might also symbolize that she can never go back to being a normal innocent child after witnessing all this, which she never does because she basically gets raised by the government only to become an agent. I'm not really even sure about the blue though. First I wanted to say that what she's wearing is just basically a play on the standard Japanese school uniform, but the game does not take place in Japan, even though Capcom is a Japanese company. But in the remake there is even more emphasis on the blue color, although it is considerably lighter than in the original. Blue is maybe the color of heaven, and as it's revealed in Resident Evil 6 in a file. During the events of Resident Evil 2, Leon has considered to disconnect from life, but he decided to keep going for Sherry, as he thought that maybe if they helped her to get away, she might have a normal life. So this heavenly blue could symbolize hope for Leon, especially considering that Capcom is a Japanese company and blue tends to have these connotations in Japan. And by that I mean being connected to the sky. Next up we have the motherfucking Tyrant. Yes, of course, I wouldn't be able to talk about it without mentioning the Tyrant. Mr. X, if you will. Tyrant, he's not really a character, but like he's the big part of Resident Evil 2. And when I say big, I mean really big. So I thought to myself, hey, why not include him? Because after all, I love overanalyzing them. So the Tyrant Mr. X in his first cutscene immediately pulls up wearing this green Balenciaga trench coat. And I'm not joking when I'm saying it's a green Balenciaga trench coat, like look at it, that shit was expensive. Why the fuck is he even wearing clothes? There's no way he'd fit in with other humans anyway. And I doubt they made him with a dick, okay? I don't think he has one. Why would they make it? There's no way there was a scientist in Umbrella who was like, you know what this monster designed to retrieve the G-virus and kill any survivors left in the city needs? A fucking cock. A fucking 14-incher. No matter what Rule 34 artists are trying to tell you, there's just no way he has one. So I'm asking, why is he wearing a Balenciaga trench coat? For example, the Tyrant in Resident Evil 1 was not wearing anything, and Nemesis was just wearing a fucking trash bag. How did they even get the right size? Or you know what, maybe it wasn't the scientist in Umbrella, maybe it was just Tyrant after he was created. He decided that he wanted to wear that, and I mean, I respect, he's got that shit on. And honestly, I don't even know what the green would stand for with Tyrant, other than it being a militaristic color, which I mean could be it because he's technically the perfect soldier. Other than his trench coat, however, Tyrant's color is grey, which I think it's quite easy to deduce what it means. Grey is a neutral color. When you encounter it in real life, it's usually with something that would be considered boring. I mean, it could also be elegant, like for example with suits or offices design, but the reason the color grey works with those is because it's a very safe color. You cannot go wrong with grey. It's a color that can fit almost anywhere because it's neutral, and it's not making any statement. It fits in, therefore it's kind of boring. But because it's so boring and uninspired, it also carries this idea of emotionlessness and being detached, which fits with the Tyrant perfectly. He has no likes or dislikes. He's just this unstoppable force of nature who has the will to do anything to complete his mission. Wait, force of nature? Now that I said it, the green could be symbolism of nature as he is the force of nature, but I think this is a bit of a stretch. Genuinely, I think they just designed Tyrant to be grey and wear a green Balenciaga trench coat because it just goes well together. I mean, just look at him. Remember when I said that Ada's design was a fashion statement? Nah, fuck that. Tyrant is. Literally, they just designed him to look good. That's all there is. And they even topped it off in the remake with that little hat. That's pretty much it about what I have to say about the color representation in Resident Evil 2, because I don't think I can look more deeply into the other characters. I guess I could argue that Brian Irons is wearing the grey vest, so he's like a morally grey character. This motherfucker is not morally gray, he's morally fucking evil. Or that hunk is representing death because they call him the Grim Reaper. So he's wearing all black with those little red evil eyes. But again, I'm pretty sure that's just a standard uniform they were using. I mean, I guess those red eyes are a bit telling. I mean, if I saw this guy, I would not go on a mission. I think I said that before. I would not go on a mission with this guy. When you see this motherfucker, you know you're not coming home alive. William, not much to say about him. He just dressed as a scientist. And he looks like James Sunderland in the remake. And that's sort of the same as James, except for the James Sunderland part. However, those two do continue the trend of Resident Evil of the antagonist being blonde, which would be the case in almost like every Resident Evil game and movie. So yeah, I think that's it. I hope some of this made sense. I know it made sense to me at some point. So if you think some of this made sense, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm close to having 3,000 subscribers. So if you want to be part of that journey, it would be great for you to subscribe. And if you do, I swear I will do something, okay? You can comment down below what I should do if you subscribe, and I'll literally do it. And you know what, even if you don't think that any of this made sense, you should subscribe anyway, cause like, why not? And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.